Welcome to the Parts Girl podcast, powered by PartsEdge with Kaylee Felio. Conversations that will transform the way we do business. Gain insight into the wins and struggles from automotive professionals.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Parts Girl podcast. I'm very excited to be interviewing Mike Bachara. Basically, this is a special series that I'm doing. It's called the Fixed Op Summer Camp series. So we're going to really focus today on physical inventories and the importance of all of that. So first, I want Mike for you to introduce yourself, give a little backstory and the name of your company and what you do.
My name is Mike Bachara, and my company is called ProCount West, and we are a parts inventory company, and we do parts inventories for automotive dealers only, and we do it across the country. We started the business in 1981, and the business was started by my father, and it's kind of spun off since then. I have a brother that does the same thing, and my company, and we do inventories nationwide.
Very cool. And so why do you do what you do, or why do you love what you do? I'm assuming you love it.
Yeah, people don't believe me, but I do really love it. So when I was 13 years old, I'd go around with my dad and do inventories with him. And who wouldn't want to do what your dad does? You know, every kid just about wants to do what their dad does. So I followed him around, and even when he was working in a parts department, I'd follow him to his parts department on Saturdays when I wasn't at school, and face all the parts and put them where they belong and put stuff away and clean stuff up. And it was just a passion, and it really never changed. I've been doing it since I was 13 years old, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but it's been about 40 years.
I think everyone can do math. So you just gave it away. But no, that's really cool. That's special. So you really always just been in this niche of the industry. And my first question, because I want to dive right into the questions so people can get started with, learning about physical inventories. What are physical inventories and why are they important?
Okay, well, physical inventories are a process where you count and verify the inventory on the shelf. When counting is complete, you go back and you look over the discrepancies, and you look at parts that are different, what you counted than what the dealership had on the shelf. And you go back and you correct any counting errors. And when it's all said and done and you look at all the discrepancies, you have a new count and a final number. As far as why they're important, there's a couple of reasons. Okay, one of them is what I talked about earlier, where you wanted to correct the counts on the shelf. The other reasons are accounting. So make sure your accounting figures are correct and compare the accounting figures to the count on the shelf. You want to make sure you have the correct stocking levels for each part. That's where PartsEdge has a lot of stuff to do with that too. So. And, the last piece to the puzzle is probably for tax purposes. It's above most of our heads, but, we let the accountants figure that part of it out. But if a dealership ends up with more inventory than they're supposed to have on the book, when more than they have on the books, they have to pay tax on that money. And if they have less than what they have on the books, it's unfortunate, but it is a tax write-off. So they can decide what they want to do with the overage if there's an overage. And like I said, that's above all our heads. We're just there to give them the figures.
Gotcha. And I just thought of a question that I didn't, but I think you'll know the answer. What is a good percentage to have? Like, obviously, I've always heard that being over is better than under, right?
Yeah.
So what is? Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. So what is a good? What's a good? Because I think the goal is probably to be perfect, but does that ever happen? There's probably like a certain percentage of like where you can be.
Yeah, so there's different schools of thought on that. The the old benchmark was 2.5%, either up or down. Obviously, when you're short 2.5%, the owner is not going to be happy about that. But sometimes it does happen, depending on how big that number is. The reason why you are looking for the over 2.5% is most of the time you're going to have a price appreciation. So the 2.5 came from the average price appreciation that manufacturers raise their pricing every year. So that's why, you need to be within those figures. As far as seeing a perfect one, I don't know if there is a perfect one. It's really hard to drill into that number. But yeah, I've seen them real close, and I've seen many, many more way far apart.
Yeah, definitely. I bet you have. And so I feel like whenever I talk to dealerships, physical inventories have never been a priority. Why do you think that dealerships don't prioritize physical?
Eventually, they all have to do an inventory at some point, whether they do them themselves or they hire an outside company. But I think the first reason is probably cost. I talked to some dealers that just don't want to spend the money on it. Problem with that is, their parts managers do an inventory once a year, and they don't really know the ins and outs of it. Even if they do 30 inventories in their career, over 30 years, they still are going to miss stuff. We do over 30 in a month. So, we do a lot more inventories than they do. So we know we have checklists. We know where to make sure we don't miss any steps. So I think that's why they don't prioritize it is the cost. I also think that a lot of times they're unprepared. They don't have the staff to do it. So those are some other reasons that they probably don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like one of those things where it's not a normal thing for them to do, and they don't do it every day. So there's not really a process. So it's like, how do you achieve that? It's probably pretty messy, especially if the operation is very big. And so how often should dealerships do them?
So what we recommend is doing them once a year with an outside company, and then cycling through their inventories 3 times a year. We have a customer that I think it's a great idea that they do this, but they count their inventory once every quarter. And then the last quarter that they do it is with an outside company, usually with us. But I think that's the best way to do it. I also think that they should be counting their special order parts once a month, because special orders are where you can find the most discrepancies. I don't think everybody's as knowledgeable on some of the DMS's special order systems, so special orders can get out of whack real quick, and that's where we find most of the discrepancies.
Yeah, and then that kind of falls into monthly reconciliations, right? Like how important that is. Do you guys talk about that with your clients and set them up for that?
Man, that's the most important thing I think you can do as a monthly reconciliation. Number one, if you're off on your inventory, you can pinpoint it to one certain month. Monthly reconciliations are basically doing what we do with a physical inventory, but you don't count the parts. So you're doing the entire inventory without counting the parts, using the figures that you already show on your DMS, and just assume that those counts are right. And the reason you assume those counts are right is because you're counting your inventory a couple of times throughout the year. Now, if you're not doing that and you reconcile and your counts are incorrect, you're going to be doing an incorrect reconciliation. So we never recommend that they book any of the reconciliations. Just make sure you're close to the book at that time. A lot of dealers reconcile their oil and tires every month, which I think is a great idea. But as far as reconciling and booking overages and shortages on a parts inventory monthly, I think that's a bad idea, because if you do that and you have incorrect counts, then you're booking false appreciation.
Yeah, the appreciation and depreciation can really affect everything.
Mm-hmm.
I know we talk about that a lot. And really the whole goal, or the reason from what I've learned for monthly reconciliations, is so that accounting can catch up, right? Or is it the other way around?
It's both, actually. Sometimes, if an invoice isn't turned in on time and you do a monthly reconciliation, the parts department is going to be over the book. And then the next month when that catches up, it's going to be short to the book. So it's all a timing issue. You have to make sure your cutoffs are correct. And if your cutoffs are correct, you can get a pretty clean reconciliation every month, as long as your counts are correct also.
Okay. And you need to do physicals to make sure everything, you can't just jump on and do monthly reconciliations. Like, you have to get a physical and then you start doing monthly reconciliation, right?
Oh, yeah. So let me take a step back real quick. A lot of dealers will call us to do a physical inventory, and they'll say, we need you to come in and do a physical inventory because we want to, our parts department's so messed up. We want to know what we actually have. And the first thing we tell them is that's the opposite of what you need to do. You need to get your inventory prepared for a physical inventory because that's the way you're going to get the most accurate count. So once you get through that and you get your parts department organized and revamped, then is the time for an inventory. And then once you do that inventory, you do your monthly reconciliations. You'll get everything straight, and you'll know real close to where you are to the book.
Mm-hmm. And when you say prepared, I just want to make sure everyone understands that you're telling them to physically organize the department so that you guys can come in and count. Because it's for you guys to come in and do a physical on an department that has things everywhere. That's not a good idea.
Bad idea. Sorry about that. So what we do is you need to make sure that your parts are where they belong, because if we run across a part that isn't where it belongs, or it's not there and it's not where it belongs, where do you look for it? We touch every single piece in the parts department, but if a part's not where it belongs, it needs to be fixed right away. That way, you get the most accurate parts inventory. It's really hard to be accurate if things are a mess. I can tell you that right now. We see it a lot,
It's
but
like cleaning a messy house. How do you clean a messy house with stuff everywhere?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so, well, that kind of answered the question that I was going to ask, was what are some signs that you need a physical inventory? So when you have a messy department is probably one sign.
Yeah, and if your monthly reconciliation is off, that's a good sign where you need to, if your reconciliation isn't close, that's a good sign to do it. Like I said, cycle through it 3-4 times a year, and then let us do it on the fourth time, and you'll be accurate real quick. And the accuracy and getting organized, really, it's not just for the inventory company to come in and make their life easier. It's for your productivity. It's the shop thing. It's when a technician comes up to the counter and asks you for a price quote on a part and availability, and you tell them it's there, they turn that over to the service advisor, and the service advisor tells the customer, yeah, I have the part, I can do it. I can have it done for you in an hour. And then the technician goes back to get the part because the customer buys the job. Now the part's not there. Then what? Now you got an unhappy customer because he or she's got to wait a day or a couple hours. Now you got a technician that doesn't trust your parts department. You got a service advisor who doesn't trust your parts department. And very possibly that customer is not going to come back. It's probably a 50-50 shot, and they won't come back. But and then let's talk about the time and the money involved. Now the technician has to pull that car out and pull another car in to do another job while they're waiting for the part. How much time is involved in that? Maybe and the part might not even be that much money, but you need to be accurate so that you're productive in the shop. I think that's the most important thing of getting your inventory done.
Yeah. And those are some signs, like if they say they have the part and that whole process that you just said, and then they go back to get it and the part's not there. That's
correct.
Pretty much a red flag of like, let's do a physical. So what are you saving the dealerships by your team doing the physical? And I think we kind of already covered this is, you're saving them kind of the brain damage, I would imagine, of you guys have a problem.
So the like I said, the parts managers, they do it once a year. So what are they missing? They could miss an important step and the whole thing could be incorrect. So time savings, you're bringing in people that know what they're doing. There is a little bit more cost involved. But as far as, like you said, the brain damage of having to line up the people and, maybe closing down for the day or whatever, we can do them while you're open. We do 300 inventories a year, and most of them are done while the dealership is open. I'd say probably 80% of them are done while the dealership is open. And, if you have to use your staff to do that, it's not possible. You have to close. So the cost of hiring somebody is probably corrected just by not having to close down.
Yeah. Well, and then by doing it every year, you're staying on top of, shortages if there are, because then you're, that's losing money. So what is one of the craziest things that you've seen while doing physical?
I just did an inventory this week, and if anybody knows where I'm at, they'll know where it was at. So a completely dark parts department this week. They had old, dim rope lighting hanging in the aisles, and you couldn't see anything. We had to wear flashlights on our head to be able to count the parts this week. And it's
So like the legit dungeon that everyone talks about, like the black hole, the parts.
yeah, the literal black hole. And it was, but so what this dealership had, they had put up a mezzanine, and all the lighting was, 15, 16 feet above the floor, and they put a mezzanine in between it and bins, and now the whole downstairs was dark. So it was not easy to count. It's hard to count in the dark. So
Yeah,
that's just one of them.
that's just one of them.
Yeah, I mean, we deal with a lot of people that are very uninformed and don't know, and they like to, I don't know, they just don't know what they're doing, and when we come in to explain it to them, they don't want to believe us half the time. So yeah, the lighting thing was probably one of the craziest things I thought I seen it all, and that happened just a couple days ago.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
And definitely just like everyone talks about the parts department being a black hole. And that's my hope for having this series and focusing on physicals, is to help educate dealers out there how important this is, and the resources that are available. Because I feel like, especially for parts, a lot of times they don't realize how many resources are available to them to help them. So what else do I want to ask you? Oh, okay. So you travel across the country all the time. So you probably see, you probably see the worst, and you probably see really good operations. What are some top innovative things that you're seeing dealerships do in their parts departments?
A lot of the stuff that we're seeing is, you guys send me a lot of customers, and they're using your program, and they're maximizing their sourcing and their pricing strategies. And, so what you guys are doing, it's really working. And then a lot of our customers that are your customers are extremely happy with that. So, those that can maximize the capabilities of their DMS, and they lean on you guys for that a lot. Those are really seem like they're the strongest dealers right now. Taking your data and just working it and getting the results they want to get. It's makes a huge difference. So yeah, I like I said, I've been doing inventories for a long time, and when we go into dealerships, when I was a parts manager and I'd go into dealerships, I'd take a lot of their ideas, like how they're doing their special orders, and, setting up their parts, different ways of setting up the parts departments. And, you take the best ideas, and you see a lot of bad ideas too, don't get me wrong, but you take the best ideas and you implement them. And now what I do is I share those with my customers. So not only do they get, our service, and our service just doesn't end with an inventory, they're our customer for the year. So they lean on us throughout the year, and we share ideas with them, and hopefully it improves their bottom line. It's not just a cost thing. So
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say is your favorite thing to share with parts managers? I just threw in an extra question that you didn't know I could ask you.
the one that I remember the most was the special order system. So I saw a dealership that, a lot of manufacturers nowadays will give you 45 or 60 days to return a part that was special ordered at no cost. So one of the dealers that I was working with would create buckets, and, a bucket for every day. And every month when that bucket came up, on the 30th of the month, on the 29th, when the 30th was the next day, they'd take the parts in the 30 bucket, and they'd, call that customer one more time, trying to get them in there. And then also at the same time create a return for them, so that when that time was up, they were able to return those parts. And a lot of parts managers don't realize that these parts are dollar bills sitting on the shelf, and you're there to maximize the owner's return on investment. So if you can keep those dollars turning, they can buy another car, and buy another car, they can make another couple $1,000s in profit. So parts managers need to realize those are dollars. So if you keep your inventory down and keep those dollars turning, give your dealer a good return on investment, they're going to be happy with you, and your dealership's going to be successful.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I like that idea with the different buckets, so then you can keep it all organized. And I bet he probably labels, or they probably label them The number one thing you need in a parts firm is a labeler, I think.
I see a lot of dealers with no parts labels on their bins, and other than the bin locations, it's hard. It's hard to inventory when it's like that. But that's a great idea to have everything labeled.
Everything labeled.
Yeah.
And so what do you guys do differently than other physical inventories? I think from what you've told me, I feel like you continue to support them. You don't just do the count. You also kind of consult, right? With everything that's going, what you give them.
Yeah, they all through the year, they bounce ideas off us. We're partners with them. We always make ourselves available. If we're in town for another customer in the same town, we'll pop in and say hello and make sure that they don't need anything, and they always seem to be happy. I'm at 80% of my inventories, and every time I take on a new customer, I am there. So our customers are happy with that, and the other three guys that I have run inventories for me are 30 plus year parts managers, so they have the knowledge, and we share our guys with them, our managers with them, and even throughout the year, they can call any one of us, and we'd be happy to help them. So I think that's our biggest strength.
Yeah.
We have a lot of different guys that are knowledgeable in different DMSs. So everybody's got a CDK expert, but we have a CDK expert. We got a Reynolds expert. We're big in Techion right now. I'm going to all the classes in Techion and learning Techion. So, all the DMSs, we try to keep up the most we can and go to the classes and make sure we know everything about the DMSs. So, and we share that with our customers, because a lot of our customers, they don't do that. So I think,
or they don't have the time to do that.
Yeah, we don't have the time either, but we know it's important. So
yes,
yeah,
it is important. I mean, that's one thing we have to say, with the DMSs, because that's all we focus on.
Right. You got to know every little inside and out about each DMS. So you guys are a lot like us, where it's so important.
It is. That's why it's always been a great partnership with you guys, because I know when I'm sending you a client that I know they're going to get taken care of, because you're going to be there.
So. Oh yeah, sure. I'm the face of the company, and I'm there every time for the introduction. So. If they want me there, I'm there every time. So, but if I'm not there, then they get the other guys too, and they're very knowledgeable.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's how you have to scale the business, right? You train and you hire good people.
I've struggled to find good help. A lot of the other companies have guys that they just hire to run inventories for them, but I'm maybe a little bit too picky at picking those guys. But I'm very skeptical, so I choose them wisely, and it takes me a little bit extra time to do that.
No, I think that's the right way to do it, because you want to hire. What do they say? Hire right the first time. It's just go through that extra step so that you can hire right the first time. So
yeah,
this was great. I hope that a lot of people got a lot out of physical inventories. I assume that most people know what physical inventories are, but I wanted to go through it and help people know how important they are.
Yeah, I think the most important part of it is following it through to the end, not just counting the parts once and being done. I don't recommend going and counting it 2 times or 3 times, but count it once and make sure you check every single discrepancy. And if you do that, you're going to have a real accurate count. You're going to have, 99% plus accurate count.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so is there anything like that I didn't ask you that you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, I think we covered most of it. I think that dealer principals should require monthly reconciliations. I think that's so important. You ought to be able to pinpoint that discrepancy to a certain month, rather than trying to find it. Like if you do an inventory and you're off by $20,000 or 10% of your inventory, you want to be able to pinpoint it to the 1 month, so you can go through 30 days worth of entries rather than 12 months worth of entries. So very important for that.
I think Chuck always says it's like finding a needle in a push. What is that thing called? What is the little cushion thing? Like the sewing people use? A pin cushion. If you do monthly reconciliations, if you don't, then it's like finding a needle in the haystack.
Right.
Totally screwed that up.
No, but we all know what you meant.
Yeah, you knew what I meant. No, this is really good. I had a question for you, but I lost it. So I think we're gonna wrap it up with how can people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you? I know you're on LinkedIn, so that's probably a really good way to find you, but what else can they?
And not sure if my name shows up on the screen, but it does on my screen. The name of the company is ProCount West, PROCOUNTWEST.com. That's our website. Mike at ProCountWest.com is my email, and we are nationwide. We have an office in Chicago, and we have an office in Phoenix, Arizona, and we have another office actually in Brooklyn, New York. So we try to cover the whole country. We're in every state. I haven't gone to Alaska yet, but we're in just about every state. So the East Coast, the West Coast, up and down, we're in between, and we're everywhere. So.
Yeah, and I know the clients that use you guys have been very happy with what you guys have done. So yeah, so if anyone wants to reach out to Mike, reach out to him. And we'll have the links in the bio and all of that too. But thanks so much, Mike, for coming on the show.
Thank you, Kaylee. Have a good day.
Thank you for joining us. PartsEdge, the power tool for your parts department. We hope you're leaving feeling motivated, challenged, and inspired.